The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Stock Market Authority Podcast. I'm Bakes, Kevin Baker. I'm going to teach you how to make money in up and down markets. Very few podcasters or coaches cover this. I'll show you how to lock in profits and minimize losses to make you a better investor. So once a week, you're going to know what's going on in the world and the stock market. Welcome to the Stock Market Authority Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a great Wednesday and a great week. Welcome back to our Back to Bakesics series, how to interview CEOs to find the best investments. And let's go back and talk about what we've covered before. Our first segment was opening questions and how to get to the crux of the matter, if you will. Number two was the financials, what's really important in financials. And now number three, battle scars. And I wish I could get the Toby Keith lawyers off my back, but I would be playing, I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then in the background, but we had a problem with the legal team. So let's go through, this is the, I've gone through thousands of interviews with CEOs and CFOs, and I've always, then I say, okay, I made mistakes and I missed things. Let's add that to the interview sheet. Okay, and you know, don't let the same dog bite us twice. Let's find new ways to make mistakes and new ways to lose money, but let's not do this again. So these are things maybe you haven't thought of because you have to get some pain in order to learn. Touch the stove, so to speak. So here are the questions I would ask towards the end of the interview to cover my tail. I'd ask about. How do you recognize revenues? And if I have the most conservative accounting professor in the room, what would he take issue with? And I ask it just like that. So, and then I shut up. It makes him frame his answer under that structure, if you will. And if he says, "Oh, nothing," well, really, nothing? So, okay, well, we have this holdback policy for returns or whatever it is, but find out what that is and then probe that a little bit more. This isn't quite so prevalent now, but at one point, when I was doing this early, there was a lot of variation in accounting and a lot of controversial accounting nuances. And so it'd say the same kind of thing. What's unusual about your accounting? And if I ask the bear analyst, what is he going to say he doesn't like about how you keep the books? And then see what they have to say. Is the growth secular or cyclical? People will pay more for secular growth, constant growth, longer-lived growth than something that comes and goes. They don't get the same kind of multiples. So now you probably know a lot of that when you are asking the question from doing your prior work. But I always like to get the body language when you ask that of the CEO and the CFO. And if you can ever get the two people in the same room, it's fascinating to I mentioned this before. Ask a question of one and then see how the other confirms or goes against whatever the answer is from the other person. Working capital needs. Are you generating enough money? Do you have to raise money? Is that going to surprise people to the negative? Any costs that are capitalized that ought to be expensed? This gets a little bit wonky, but for my University of Houston friends, Bucknell Student Managed Investment Fund friends, and elsewhere, obviously if it's expensed, boom, it goes out through the income statement. If it's capitalized, it's over a period of time, and it makes the near-term numbers look better. So look for that, ask that, and see what happens. Obviously, go through the revenue growth trends. That's fairly straightforward. Ask this: how do they sell? What are the number of reps in the sales force, and do you use distributors? And so you want to find out if there are potential controversies, disruptions, contract disputes, etc., that could come up that they don't talk about all the time and people don't ask all the time. But if you find out that our West Coast team just left, West Coast sales are going to stink for a while, for example. And so you want to, if it's a distributor that you're their number 7 customer, you're not in a strong place, and so they're not really pushing your product that much. You get where I'm going with this. God, my eyes are getting bad, Chrissy. Oh, what has changed? Tell me why things are getting better or worse from last year. In the case of AMN Healthcare, it was medical service providers basically coming into a hospital and getting the hunting license for the whole system for docs and nurses that they had to fill temporary positions, and then Obamacare, which was it was way more controversial then, and the effects were unknown then versus what you see now 10 years later. But it's a great question to ask. What are the catalysts? What's coming up that are driving the stock higher? Do you have a big trade show? Is there an earnings call coming up? Is there an investor day? Is there a new product launch? Is there a new CEO that's going to have to lower guidance substantially? Whatever the case may be. That wasn't the case in AMN, but you get the idea. What are the catalysts coming up that you want to make sure occur to the positive and play out the way the CEO and the CFO tell you to. Give me the biggest risk. If I'm here and the stock is down substantially, what's happened? Or, what do you worry about the most? What's happened in the past that you're concerned about recurring? Then shut up and find out the risk that they're concerned about, and then adopt that, have them in the notes, and then keep coming back to that. You were worried about this before. Are you worried about that now? Less or more? Tell me why, etc. What's the opportunity? Tell me the upside that maybe I see, maybe others don't, and what do you see there? In this case, it was obviously 2014 Obamacare, and it turned to be a blowout. Postmortem. This is worth following what we do here. This is from Foster Freeze, and may he rest in peace. And he had this way of asking questions. It probably isn't as effective now as it was then, before full disclosure and all that. But he would ask, if for some reason you would not make expectations, top line and bottom line, for the 2 quarters coming up, what would you speculate the post-mortem response might have to be? Then shut up and see what they say. And, if they act like they're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, they probably are. That means they've underpromised and are looking to over-deliver, but find out what that is. What could really throw a monkey wrench into the works that other people, perhaps because they haven't asked the question in that way, aren't getting to. And in the case of this, it was they knew the quarter they were in, but they didn't know much about the next quarter. And so you had to kind of have this rolling conversation as to why the numbers want to be good. I've got a few more questions, a few more battle scars to rub salt into, but let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
Do you want to become a better investor? Do you want to learn how to make money in both up and down markets? Then you need to go to stockmarketauthority.com and sign up for our free newsletter today. Stock Market Authority is run by award-winning investment manager Kevin Bakes Baker. His aim is to save you time while teaching you how to be a better investor. Bakes saves you time by diving into all the latest stock market news and information so that you don't have to. He reads all the latest articles, analyzes the charts, and listens to all the relevant podcasts. And then once a week, he gives you a breakdown of what's happening in the market. Stock Market Authority is constantly outperforming the S&P and the HFRX. Bakes is going to share with you his weekly stock observations. He'll give you concise insights and show you how to lock in profits and minimize losses. Stock Market Authority is making money in up and down markets. Wouldn't you like to do the same? So join now and let Bakes show you how. Head on over to stockmarketauthority.com and sign up for our free newsletter today. That's stockmarketauthority.com, making money in up and down markets.
Welcome back. My vanity is gone, so I'm just going to wear the glasses the whole time. I've given up. This is the way the world works now. Next questions in the Battle Scar segment that we have here. What is revenue visibility? Are orders rising or falling? Is there a backlog? Is there a book-to-bill? Is there a big percentage of sales that get closed in the last month of the quarter? And not really germane to nurse staffing and physician staffing in this particular case, but we talked about it before. They knew, the quarter they were in pretty well. They didn't know the next quarter very well. And it was just, the cost of doing business and owning the stock. You had to, call them up every single quarter. What's the most concerning litigation that I should be paying more attention to? What is happening on the legislative or regulatory front that is a potential upside or downside? What's the next debt or equity offering and how big? Does the street expect that? If we're here a year from now, why would your numbers be meaningfully different than what people expect, especially the bull analyst on the street expects right now? Next, put on your investor hat for me. What do you see out there from your travels and your interactions that you think is exciting, maybe you invested in, that I also should investigate? Okay? And then last, go through your specific guidance, please. Revenue, gross margins, SG&A, EBITDA margins, interest expense, stock-based comp, CapEx, cash tax rate, the diluted share count, and hold them to that and keep coming back and saying, hey, are these all still the same? So I know I've kind of gone into the weeds here more than a little, but I hope it's been helpful. Again, this is our Back to Basics segment. This has been Battle Scars. We talked about in episode 1, we talked about opening questions, getting to the crux of the matter. Number 2, we talked about financials and finding what's really important there. And I want to hear from you. Go to my website, stockmarketauthority.com. Please sign up for my free newsletter. Please remember to go to the charts first, the fundamentals second, and have your reasons why you own something so you know when to sell them outside and with my Sell Technical discipline. I'm Bakes. This is Kevin Baker. Hope you enjoyed this. I want to hear from you. Bakes at stockmarketauthority.com. I'll see you real soon. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.